Hello. Hey, good to see you guys. Welcome to today's live. I am going to take just a couple of minutes. I put on our little countdown timer so that we can let our friends trickle in here. And oops, before I forget, I'm going to start this on Instagram as well for our friends on Instagram. All right, here we are. So, on today's live stream, we are talking about how to get unstuck. This is a problem that I think we have all experienced in various points in our life, feeling kind of paralyzed. Like maybe we're not really all that happy with where we are currently, but feeling like we can't move forward. Maybe there are a lot of different options. Maybe there aren't enough options, and you're feeling kind of paralyzed between two choices, which can be really hard. But I'm just excited to see you, and I am so happy that you're here with me today. And so we'll give our friends just a couple more minutes to trickle in. And in the meantime, I wanted to let you know I have gotten so many advanced questions from you guys for today's topic. I'm getting the sense that this is a one that is, in the minds and hearts of many of you. And so I have a bunch of questions queued up that I am excited to answer. And so I'm going to do my best to answer all of them. And hello, Brittany. I'm so glad you're here with me. But if you have questions for me, please let me know what they are. You can leave them in the chats here as we're talking. I'm happy to speak with you. And also, I have had a couple of listeners get in touch and let me know that they really want to contribute and ask questions, but understandably feel a little nervous about doing so in such a public forum because the things that we talk about here on this live stream are often personal in nature. And so I've created a new thing for you, which is basically a link where you can ask your questions anonymously. So if you come to my website, the URL, it's growingself.com/dear hyphen Lisa. If you come there, you can jump in with your questions. I will get them as we're talking, just like in real time, like I do everything else. But when I answer them, I'll be sure not to mention your name so that you have the gift of anonymity because you deserve that. So if you have a question that you would like me to answer, you can /dear hyphen Lisa or just ask me in the comments. Okay, so we are here, and hello so much everybody who is joining us now. And let's just roll right into this because I have so many questions from you guys that I really want to answer today. And so I want to make sure that we have enough time to do that. So I'll just run through a couple talking points just to set up the topic that I may be referring back to as we talk through your questions. But I'm going to do this quickly so that I could just spend time talking about you and your situation. And so again, come with your questions. I'd love to know what's going on with you. If you've been feeling stuck in your life, if you've been feeling paralyzed and need to make a decision but don't know exactly what or how, that's what we're talking about today. All right. So first of all, hello. If we haven't met yet, just to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Lisa Marie Bobby. I'm a licensed psychologist. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a board certified coach. I'm the founder of Growing Self Counseling and Coaching, and I'm also the host of the Love, Happiness, and Success podcast. And talking about how to get unstuck and feeling like you can move forward, not just move forward, but move forward fearlessly, with clarity, with confidence. I love this topic. I talk to people about it all the time. My private clients is what we do at Growing Self. I talk about it on my podcast, and I'm just so happy to be here today to talk with you about this. Because again, we've all been there. I mean, we've all felt just trapped by our circumstances. Everybody can relate to this. And it's a bad feeling, but it's wanting to change something, not being really happy with where we are, but it's like you can't see a clear path forward, Or even if you can see the path forward, it feels like there are obstacles standing in your way that prevent you from getting where you want to go. And this can be due to a lot of different reasons that we'll talk about. But I just want to tell you that I have so much empathy. And I think the reason why it's so difficult is that over time, we start to feel helpless with it. We start to feel paralyzed and just this trapped feeling. It can keep you up at night. It's a bad feeling. It's just walking you through your days with so much angst. And I just want you to know that I have had this experience more than once in my life, and I know how much it hurts. I also talk with clients routinely about this, and so anyway, I feel your pain. But I am also happy to tell you that there is absolutely a path forward, and it really comes from learning how to illuminate new possibilities, make decisions, but also knowing what to do internally to break free from this experience is where the action is. But this isn't something that we learn how to do. Like, nobody teaches us this. And I think it's oftentimes only when we get to this place of real stuckness in our lives that we start doing things like this, attending these live streams, engaging in other learning activities, maybe getting involved in some personal growth work, reading some books. And that's where we learn what to do and how to do this differently. So I just wanted to normalize this experience, and I hope you understand the fact that you're going through this doesn't mean there's something wrong. It just means that there's developmental work that you haven't yet had the chance to do. And starting today with this live stream, you're going to be doing some of it. So I'm happy you're here. So very briefly, I want to take a quick look at some of the factors that tend to cause paralysis, just to talk about what they are. I'll go through these briefly, but so that you can develop this conceptual framework about what might be going on here. But also I want you to be thinking about what might be going on with you internally that is contributing to this experience? Because when you have that kind of self-awareness, that is the first step to beginning to make it different for yourself. So, for example, oh, and I should tell you about this. I am currently finishing up a new free training that I'm so excited about. It is my Love, Happiness, and Success program. It is a free, completely free 2-part training with me that walks you through some of the things that we're going to be talking about today around self-awareness, mindset, making actual changes as opposed to thinking about changes, going into all of this stuff in this program. I'm actually finishing it up this week, so it will be available very soon. It's not quite yet, but if you are interested in this as we talk through this and you would like to learn more or get access to it again for free, just message me on whatever social platform you're on right now. Let me know, and I'll make sure to follow up with you when it's available. Or you can also use the growingself.com/Dear Lisa to let me know that you're interested anonymously. So, one of the things that will cause paralysis for sure is lack of clarity. And this is when you are really unsure about what it is that you want to do. And this can happen when you have too many options, like a lot of good options, believe it or not, can create this kind of lack of clarity when there are many possibilities for you, but it's difficult to choose one. And there can also be anxiety about choosing one, honestly. And so that can lead to this sense of, fogginess. But additionally, a lack of clarity can be a disconnection from your core self. If you're not fully clear about who you are, what your core values are, what's most important to you, what your life mission is about, it's really difficult to make decisions. And that can lead to the sense of paralysis because you genuinely don't know what to do. And, who gets invited to dig into core values and what is my life mission and all of these different things? I mean, this is pretty deep internal personal growth work. And so I just wanted to mention this because if you've been struggling and feeling paralyzed and feeling stuck and like you can't move forward, it could be worth actually, let the decision in front of you go for a little while and actually look inward for a while, because that can sometimes be where the action is, truly. Another big contributor, though, to feeling stuck can actually be related to mindset. And these are typically internal obstacles. So, ways of thinking or old core beliefs that are oftentimes non conscious. They are not thoughts in our heads, these are automatic judgments, beliefs that are so deeply ingrained in us, we don't even know they're there, which makes them hard to work with, right? Like it's hard to change things if you don't fully know that they're there. But in my experience as a therapist and a coach, when people are stuck and trapped, or feeling stuck and trapped, it is very frequently because of the way that they're thinking about the situation. There are unhelpful mindsets. So, for example, if somebody has a tendency to be a black or white thinker, what typically happens is that any choice becomes binary. It is this one thing or this other thing, and they are mutually exclusive. And when we go into that kind of black and white thinking, all or nothing, it can create a lot of anxiety and a lot of internal, like, trapped feelings. And sometimes there only are two choices, but many times there aren't. And it's actually changing your thinking style to move more into a shades of gray cognitive way of being that can help you get unstuck. And then additionally, besides having lack of clarity or mindsets that you might not be aware of, another reason, a very real reason why people get stuck is due to a skills gap. And so this would be a situation where you know what you want, you understand like what the right choice is for you, but you legitimately feel unclear about how to make it happen. And this is a skills gap. So maybe like you try to do things differently or make changes, but it feels like they don't stick. It just feels like you're kind of spinning your wheels. And it's typically because you only know how to do what you know how to do. And so you kind of keep doing things that you know how to do, but you need to have a different skill set, a literal different way of doing things in order to get different results. And many times, and I've gone through this so many times myself, it's like we don't know what we don't know, that there's like a different way of being that would help you move forward. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that too, because that is oftentimes a real opportunity for growth for many of us. So anyway, so those are some of the ideas that we're going to be referencing as we're talking about your questions. And I just want to move right into this so that we have as much time as possible to be talking about your life, your situation, and your questions on today's live stream. So let's do this right now. And I see so many fun comments coming through. This is fantastic. And let me just turn my attention to these. So as I mentioned, there have been a bunch of, oh, hello, good to see you again. A bunch of questions coming in advance. And so I am going to be answering some of these first because they got in line, but hopefully we'll have plenty of time today to answer everybody's question. That is my goal, at least. So let's see. Okay, my mouse just stopped working. Oh my gosh, the joys of live streams. Am I right? Okay. All right. So here is a first question from an anonymous listener. And this is a great question. How do you get unstuck with something that's not in your own hands? Like getting a job, finding a partner, getting pregnant, etc. And so my reaction to this phenomenal question is that there may be a mindset issue in the way of your ability to believe that you have control or lack of control in the outcomes of your life. So, what your question is telling me is that it feels like getting a job is outside of your control, finding a partner is outside of your control, or having a child is outside of your control. And this implies a mindset of learned helplessness where you believe that this is all out of your hands. And I will just tell you very directly, not just as a therapist, but really as a coach, I work with people all the time who are able to do the work to figure out what kind of career they want to be in, research jobs, get their dream career that is absolutely in alignment with who they are, their life's mission, and something they enjoy. I work as a dating coach, and it is 1,000% possible to get into a fantastic and very healthy relationship. And if having a child is in your life path, doing that too. I work with people who do that all the time. And there is a process that involves setting goals, figuring out what you need to do, creating an action plan, and that is what we do in coaching. And so if you believe that you don't have any agency over creating those outcomes, I think that that's probably problem number one. But that secondly is that you might need support in having somebody to help you do that. So if you're interested, I would absolutely invite you to attend this free 2-part training that I'm going to be releasing very soon, Love, Happiness, and Success, that goes into that process. Like, how do you create goals? What are the different areas that you need to be working on? Get you started in the basic skills of not just setting goals, but creating an action plan to help you attain them so that you feel more empowered to create the outcomes that you want, because you deserve to have amazing outcomes. So I hope that that perspective helps you get clarity about where to begin in your quest to get unstuck. Okay, so let's tackle another question here. And again, if you have questions, I invite you to ask them in the comments here, or you can get in touch through my website, growingself.com/dear-Lisa, if you'd like to communicate with me anonymously. Okay, so here is another very good question that I think probably a lot of people can relate to, from a listener who's kind of in some relationship purgatory. So the question is, how can I determine if the guy that I've been talking to for 6 months is the right one for me, the right thing for me? I've had doubts about this situation for a solid 3 months, but I also don't want to have regrets for saying something to him about my doubts. Okay, so the stuck feeling is being stuck in this relationship, not sure that it's the right one for you, but the real paralysis, it seems like, is what do I do about this? If I talk about my concerns with this guy that I'm dating, will that blow things up? Or to not say anything, stay the course, and there's like a ... there, so it's like hope it gets better. I don't know. Is it feeling like maybe you don't have other good options? Is that one of the things that's keeping you paralyzed? So on that note, I would take a look at mindset. Like, what are you telling yourself about this relationship as part of the mindset? Like, this is as good as it's gonna get, like, and that's part of what's holding you back. But the other piece here is, I think that there could be even a skills gap related to this, because is it possible that you don't have confidence in your ability to broach a conversation about the relationship in a productive way that might lead to positive change? So that could potentially be something to work on. But the other piece too are like core beliefs around the the binariness, but also the consequences, because it sounds like you are in a meh situationship that doesn't feel like it's the right one for you. But if you acknowledge that and say that out loud, it might blow it up. And if it did, that would then set you free. So it seems like the path in front of you is finding out whether or not positive change is possible in an empowered way. And if it isn't, being done. But it feels like there's a different barrier that's holding you back from either finding out if it is possible or being done with this. And I think that that's probably attached to mindset. So consider doing some mindset work. And again, if you'd like that free 2-part program that I'm releasing, I have some exercises in there that can help you dig into that. I can't give you the URL yet because I haven't published it. I'm still finishing it up. And if you would like to participate, just message me. You could DM me at social. You could email me, drlisa@growingself.com, or get in touch through that, growingself.com/dear-lisa tool that I set up. But I do hope that that perspective helps. Okay, so let's jump over to tackle one of the comments, the amazing comments that have been coming through for you guys. There have been so many interesting questions coming in. Let's see. Okay, so this is actually a fantastic question. So here's a question about feeling stuck in a relationship, it sounds like. And the question is, what advice would you give someone who can't afford therapy but desperately needs help repairing their relationship? This is phenomenal. And do you know, I mean, I totally get this. I think that therapy can be expensive, and also therapy is really hard because, particularly if your goal is repairing your relationship, psychotherapy may not actually be the right vehicle that will get you where you want to go. I mean, traditional psychotherapy, it is for the purpose of diagnosing and treating mental health conditions, not helping people repair relationships per se. So you have risks of getting involved in therapy because it is not just potentially expensive, but it is also easy to waste a lot of time and a lot of money on things that aren't designed to help you repair a relationship. So I think that that's one thing to consider. I would invite you certainly to take advantage of some of the free resources that I have here through Growing Self. Another program that's coming out very soon is Communication That Connects, which is a free 2-part program that will give you a lot of tools and new skills and mindsets that will help begin to build a bridge back to the center. If a relationship has been feeling hard, again, just message me and let me know if you want to know more about that. There are also a lot of fantastic books that can be helpful. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm a huge reader. I mean, I probably inhale 2 or 3 books a week. I'm just card carrying nerd. I've always been this way. But I love it and have benefited so much from really great books that can provide you with a new way of thinking about relationship and also skills. So I would look for titles that have been released by the Gottman Institute. So John Gottman, going into evidence-based ways of changing a relationship. And additionally, there's another fantastic book that I love, and I actually use this book with clients sometimes that I'm working with in relationship coaching as a supplement to the things that we're talking about in their sessions. I'm just a huge believer in like building a new cognitive framework to understand what's going on, and for me that works through books. So the title is called Hold Me Tight. The author is Dr. Susan Johnson, who just actually passed away a couple of weeks ago. The world lost an amazing light. But that is honestly one place that I would start So let me know that you want access to my free 2-part training on communication that connects, and I'll send that to you as soon as it's available. And check out those books. But then, just very lastly, I will just offer one something. In my experience, I have often had people say, I can't afford to do relationship growth work or personal growth work. And it is also true that, I mean, sometimes legitimately, if you are in a very low paying job and you have people to support and it is like a very real struggle financially, that struggle is real. I've been in that struggle at certain points in my life. And it's also true that we pay for the things that are valuable to us. So I have had people say, "Oh, I can't afford to do that," and then tell me about the next weekend they're going on a 4-day, girls getaway to Napa that they're really easily going to drop a couple of grand on, and that would pay for an entire course of relationship coaching with somebody really, really good. So I just wanted to invite you to think about, are there other things that you're actually paying a lot of money for because you've internally decided that they're important, and there is a mindset issue happening about the worth, the value of investing in yourself or in your relationship that is actually an internal barrier that is not as much based in reality, because we do all kinds of things. I worked for years as a waitress and figured out a way to pay for therapy because it was something that I really needed to do at the time. Um, so anyway, I just wanted to put that out there too. But again, honestly, financial struggles can also be very, very real. And you can check those books out from the library, and you can take my free 2-part training that I made available for you, and that'll at least get you going. So I hope that that perspective helps. Okay, let's tackle another question. Let's go to this one. Here's a good one. Oops. All right. So this question comes anonymously from a listener, and she's saying, I feel like I have been so stuck for years. And the question is, how do you get unstuck when you know all the whys and you have all the tools, but nothing is reaching deep enough to make lasting change in your behavior or in your thoughts? This is such a juicy question, and I think we've all been there. I mean, myself, I've spent a long time in places around. I know what I need to be doing, and yet for some reason I'm not. Or I have insight into why I'm stuck, and yet it doesn't matter. And so, I'm a therapist, right? But this is where I have found so much more power from a coaching framework than from a therapy framework, because I don't know where what you have has been coming from. Has it been coming from therapy, has helped you understand all the whys and introduced you to all of the tools? Because if that is where it's coming from, there is a chance that you have been attempting to get your needs met from the wrong type of provider, from the wrong type of process, because therapy is all about providing you with insight and ideas, like you could do this, whereas a coaching model is much more action oriented, and it is also digging deeper into not just what you want and how to get there, but it's going into obstacles. And my guess in your question is that you have hidden obstacles that are holding you back, that have not yet been identified, or if they have been identified, there's a skills gap where you don't know how to deal with them yet. So there are other pieces here. And let me just tell you, whenever things don't make sense, like I almost get the sense that you're a little bit mystified by yourself. I've been stuck for years. I know all the whys. I know what I should do. I still can't. I don't know what's going on. It means that you don't have all the information. Everything makes sense when you do. And so I would see about getting connected with a really good coach, ideally a coach who is a licensed therapist who then became certified as a coach. Because even though I love coaching psychology, I think it's fantastic. The other part of this reality is that coaching is a completely unregulated profession. Literally anyone can call themselves a coach and start practicing coaching and taking people's money. And you need to be very cautious about who you do this work with. But I think it would be very interesting to find out what are the hidden obstacles standing in your way, and if you have any competing goals and values. So just one more thing and then we'll move on to another question. But frequently, this happens all the time. People have competing goals. One of the goals is overt. It is, I want to be healthier. And I know that in order to do that, I need to, get more exercise, change my diet, whatever it is. But they have a competing goal around wanting to rest, feeling comfort from just being quiet, feeling like they need to be nurtured and cared for, and core beliefs around resting or certain types of foods that are connected to that experience. And so these two things are competing with each other. And when people get stuck, it's because the goal that they're not aware of, the hidden one, is actually driving the bus. And so if I were your coach, I would have many questions for you about how the inertia actually makes sense and what you're prioritizing instead. And I bet if we pulled that out into the light, you would have not just more insight into yourself, but the opportunity to make some decisions and put together an action plan that would be based on the full picture of yourself, because you have some stuff that's hidden in the darkness that needs to come out into the light, that is very legitimate. And I'm sure it all makes perfect sense, but that hasn't been part of the conversation. That's my guess anyway, but you're welcome to follow up with me if you want to talk through this further, or if you believe that it would benefit from, working, for example, with a coach at Growing Self who could help you really dig into this and find out what's going on and help you do something differently. I would invite you to get in touch, but in these situations, I would be cautious about therapy, because you might feel like you're spinning your wheels with therapy. I suspect that you've been in therapy in the past, but also the work that you need to do is powerful coaching that really helps you go deep. So that would be my thought. Okay, let's go to some more questions that are coming in from your comments. And if you have a question for me that you haven't asked yet, I would love to hear it. So please leave your questions for me here. I'm going to get to as many of these as I can before we end for the day. And if you'd like to get in touch anonymously, go to growingself.com/dear-Lisa. Okay. Here's another good question. And I think that this really speaks to what we were talking about around that lack of clarity piece. The question is, what to do if the person doesn't know exactly what he wants, like doesn't know what job will make him happy? Totally valid. How can you make a decision if you don't have access to that clarity, that knowledge? It would be a mistake to make a major life decision that may involve going back to school or relocating, or taking a job with a lot of potentially responsibilities, if you don't know what it is that you were put here to do. You're not connected to your purpose and your mission and your values. And so my advice to you would be, give yourself permission to not make any decisions about the job until you have had the opportunity to dig into these questions and and really answer them. And so this means potentially working with a very talented career coach who can help you discover this intersection of what you are good at, like where are your natural talents and abilities, and what do you enjoy doing? Where do you find flow? Where do you find meaning, purpose, value? What are your core values? I mean, if you were living a life that felt very meaningful and successful to you, what would that even be? But like starting to chip away at this, unpeel this onion, figure out who you are and what that life path is. That I think of it and I call it as holistic life design, really is what we're talking about. And so that success piece in a professional sense being one part of this puzzle. What is your lifestyle like? What are your relationship like? What is your vision for your entire life? And then how does your career fit into that? But figuring out those pieces of yourself, what you're good at, what you love doing, and then also, of course, I mean, what will somebody pay you to do if it's starting a business or getting a job, like where could you earn a living if that is a component of your definition of success. And just as part of that, I have known a number of artists who are deeply fulfilled by their creative work, and they have the freedom and the time to do that, and that is their life's mission. And it's not necessarily work that they get paid for. They may get financial stability through other things that they do, but that is not really their desire. It's not what's meaningful to them or valuable to them. They have a creative drive that they need to express, and the rest of their life is built to support that. So again, I just sometimes I think that we can develop ideas of success as being related to a certain kind of career or a certain income level, and we need to make that much broader so that it's true for you. But it sounds like you have not yet had the opportunity to do that kind of deep exploratory work, and until you do, it would be not just difficult, but I would think also inadvisable to choose a career path that you invest a lot into, because without having that clarity into yourself, you could choose the wrong one. Now, again, it's also true that if you make a decision, start going down one path, and decide it's the wrong thing, you can make a different decision. And sometimes we only learn things about ourselves through having these kinds of life experiences. And so if that is also a way of figuring this out, doing a lot of different things and seeing what feels kind of warm to you and fulfilling versus cold and repelling, that can be an absolutely valid way of getting information about yourself and your truth. And I don't have a sense of how old you are, but particularly if you're early in life and have time to kind of mess around and do some exploring, I would absolutely encourage you to do that. So thank you for your question, though. That's an awesome question. All right, so let's flip back to another one of these fantastic questions. And if you have questions for me, we have 20 more minutes to talk about all the questions, and I can't wait to do this. So please ask them, and we'll try to get through them. Okay, so here's another amazing question from an anonymous contributor about how to grow together in a relationship and feeling kind of stuck or paralyzed in her ability to do this. So the question is, I just started therapy with my boyfriend, but he's a very private person, and I'm afraid to bring up issues about our relationship in front of the therapist. So how do I combat this without feeling like I'm crossing his boundaries? This is so interesting to me. It makes me wonder what kind of therapist you're seeing. As I mentioned previously, it's very, very easy to get involved with the wrong kind of helper if the goal is relationship work. So Most therapists do not have explicit training and experience in couples and family therapy. And the fact that you are attending sessions where you're not talking about relationship issues and you're there with your boyfriend makes me wonder if you are working with a clinician who is not a marriage and family therapist, or like, was this your individual therapist that you started bringing your boyfriend to, which is not a good idea if the goal is relational work. A truly professional couples counselor would never ever do that. It is a dual relationship. You have an individual relationship with your therapist, and if you wanted to do relationship work with your boyfriend, that would be with a different provider, because with a couples counselor, the relationship is their client, not you, and also not your boyfriend. The goal is the health and stability, satisfaction of the relationship itself. And so the simple fact that you are attending therapy sessions with a therapist who is not clarifying or helping you clarify, why are we here? What do you want to get out of this? If things were different and better in your relationship, what would have changed for both of you? And really helping both of you be talking about these things in the room. Like, it makes me wonder what you have gotten yourself into. And I just want to provide you with some insight around how this should look. So with a truly expert couples counselor or relationship coach, there's going to be a lot of leadership and guidance in your sessions that will help you be talking about really important things, and creating enough emotional safety, both for you and your boyfriend, that both of you feel comfortable saying out loud, like, why you're here. And it could be that you are in that kind of situation. You do have a clinician who's able to provide you with that kind of leadership and expertise, but then there is an internal barrier. There's this mindset around, I can't talk about what's really going on. And which also makes me wonder, like, what do you imagine the consequences would be? Like, what would your boyfriend do if you talked about the things in the relationship that are truly bothering you? Why does he think that you're in couples counseling if it is not to talk about these things? And also to be thinking about, like, again, what are the barriers? So things that you could do, you could privately, I mean, if you're really worried that he would feel blindsided in a couples therapy session, which again is so odd to me, because like you would be in couples therapy for the purpose of improving known issues in your relationship, right? So there's just something off here about this situation. But you could certainly, before the next session, be like, the reason why we're doing this is because I love you so much and I want this relationship to be great for both of us. I know that this particular thing has been feeling really challenging. I hope that this could feel so much better. I think that this therapist could help us with this. I'd like to bring this up in the conversation. Maybe I'll share my point of view, but it's also really important to me that you're sharing your point of view and that your perspective is being heard when it comes to this. But I think that if, we're spending all this time, we're paying all this money, and if we're not talking about these things, like, we're not going to get anything out of it. And I want this to be a valuable experience. So what do you think? I mean, you could broach this. And just for more information, if the free 2-part training on communication that connects that I mentioned earlier in this live stream, if you take this, it will also provide you with a lot of information about how to talk about sensitive subjects in an emotionally safe way. And it could be that there's a bit of a skills gap there, that maybe you're unsure or not confident in your ability to broach this in a way that your boyfriend might be receptive to, that there's some concerns there, or maybe how to handle it if he has anxiety about these topics. So anyway, message me and let me know if you would like access to that free training, and I'll send it to you as soon as it's available. But yeah, again, really, like, if there are secrets that we have and things that we can't talk about in relationship therapy, and you're with a clinician who's not kind of helping create that clarity and figuring out what we're doing here, what the problem is, how do we get where you want to go, making it feel safe for both of you, there's some other things that are wrong. Anyway, I wish I knew more of the details so that I could speak to them more fully in this live stream, but those are my initial thoughts. But fantastic question, and I really hope that you are able to talk about these things that are clearly important to talk about and able to do something productive with it in couples counseling, because that is the point. Okay, so let's take another question. And let's see. Okay. You know, I've actually had a couple of questions that have come up on a related topic. So we're going to tackle this one together, and maybe I'll mention a couple of other questions that have come up around feeling really stuck after a breakup, because this is a common experience. And so we'll start with Ragavs here. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but the question was, I've been feeling stuck about a breakup for the last year and a half, and I've had difficulty stopping thinking about the past and moving on. And yes, this is a very common experience. There was another listener question that came through kind of along the same lines that I'll mention. This other listener is 6 months out of a breakup, but it was a situation where her partner blindsided her, wound up cheating on her, and she was absolutely devastated. She's been ruminating about it. She says she's been in 5 months of counseling, but that what's come up, I guess, through her counseling, apparently the focus has been on it's turned into a psychopathology piece, so trauma, anxious attachment, separation anxiety, which may be absolutely true and valid, but that feeling like she's stuck, and it's hard to cope without him and cope with what he's done, and feeling angry and deeply hurt and just going through some really hard things. And I have had several other questions coming through in the same vein. So when it comes to feeling stuck after a breakup, this is another thing that I'm super passionate about, and another area where it can be easy to just get into this mental and emotional cul-de-sac. And frequently, even with therapy, traditional mental health therapy, which again is for the purpose of diagnosing and treating mental health conditions and is highly appropriate. If there are mental health conditions that require treatment, you need psychotherapy. That's very helpful. And what is also true is that most therapists did not receive specialized education and training in the process of heartbreak recovery specifically, nor did they learn about the biological basis of heartbreak and how to help people move through it, because it is not a psychological disorder. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Humans were designed to bond to other people very strongly, and when those bonds are broken, it creates a very big, actually biologically based impact on us. And so, I mean, me personally, I went through a master's degree and then a PhD and learned zero things about how to help people with relationship loss and heartbreak recovery specifically. And so I went through a period of time early in my career where I would, have heartbroken clients come and, work with me for help. And I felt so bad because the things that I knew how to do, talking about, grief and loss or attachment stuff related to your parents' divorce. Like, it was all rooted in like, what is the problem in the individual that is creating this experience? Like, why are they stuck? And that didn't work. My clients remained stuck. And I felt bad about it because I really wanted to be a more effective helper for people. And so I wound up having to do a bunch of research that was actually not in psychology, it was going into biology, frankly. The work of Dr. Helen Fisher is amazing. I mean, she's like putting people under brain scanning machines to understand like the way their brains work and getting insight into what's really going on. It turned into a book for me. I wrote a book, Xoxo, Breaking Your Addiction to an Ex Love, that really like dives into the nature of love, why people get welled in it, and what it really takes to release those attachment bonds. And so that book came out a while ago. And since then, my work has actually continued to evolve in that area because it's one of my personal values to be truly like helpful to people. And so my model has continued to evolve. And I also have some free trainings on this that will be available soon as well that I think will be really helpful in getting you unstuck, because in order to move forward, what most people don't realize is that there are very specific stages of this work. I have identified actually 8 of them to feel like you're fully through this process. And if you don't work through the stages, you will get stuck. And there are a lot of different places where people can and do get stuck. So, Raghav, like for your question, that you are still thinking about the past, like, and I don't have a lot of detail into what is coming up with this, but I would suspect that you might be stuck in one of the first or second stages of this, which is the withdrawal phase or the relationship clarity phase. And so this is a lot of big feelings, ruminating about an ex, craving contact, maybe fantasizing about getting back together. There's a lot of work that needs to be done here in order for you to then move into the next phases, including grieving, closure, emotional healing, learning and growing. Like there's a lot ahead of you. So if you're interested, message me and I'll send you access to that free training on heartbreak recovery that I just mentioned, because I think that that'll give you a lot of clarity and insight and to create a roadmap so that you can begin moving forward. And then for the other question that came through related to the being blindsided by a breakup, what I would suspect actually, like with the stages, so it could absolutely be that you're at an earlier stage, either withdrawal or potentially relationship clarity. But what I'm actually hearing in your story is that you may really be stuck in the emotional healing phase of this, because you're describing having a lot of anger, a lot of hurt, particularly about the betrayal, a lot of fear about what this means for you, and that like there was some dependency pieces there with your boyfriend. And so whenever we have yet to process, but also really take the wisdom from dark emotions, we will get stuck in them. And so one of the things that you might consider, and again, it's very appropriate if to be in therapy, if you do have an attachment disorder, if there's anxiety disorders, if there's past trauma, like please stay in therapy and understand that therapy might not be the vehicle to walk you through the stages of healing that you need to do related to just releasing your attachment to this person or recovering from the breakup, but also really learning, growing, and then redesigning your life that is more empowered, that you're creating a vision for what you want your life to be like 10 years from now, and feeling like you are able to move towards that reality. That's not what therapy is for. So you can access that free training that I mentioned to you and also do therapy. Just, tell your therapist what you're doing to supplement your work together. That's really that more heartbreak recovery specific. So, okay, these are so many fantastic questions. And I think we have time to tackle one more. Okay, there was amazing question that came through that I really wanted to answer. And thank you so much for those of you who have asked questions. I love these and I'm paying attention. So it might be that we tackle this topic again sometime on another upcoming live stream, since obviously there's a lot on your minds related to this. I'll also see about putting some podcasts together on this topic to speak to these questions that maybe we haven't had a chance to fully address today. But here's one last one. And this came in from a listener who is in a hard situation. So it is. I'm an American who met my Lithuanian wife during a trip. I ended up moving to Lithuania 6 years ago, and now we have a 5-year-old son. Last year, my wife announced that she doesn't want to be with me anymore. This news was a shock to me as I was seeing that we were working on our relationship. I didn't want to stop that. I didn't want the relationship to be over. But she left me no choice. And I mean, that happens. And a year later, all my efforts to keep things together have failed. So here comes the stuck part. This is not my country. All my visions and dreams about us are gone. I came here to be with her, to have a family, but that's no longer possible. I'm committed to being a father to my son. So I'm stuck in this country, but being stuck has also forced me to learn and grow and become a better person. In some ways, it's a blessing in disguise. I look forward to hearing your perspective. So that's the question. But I just want to share that you are already doing it. I think that this is the work. You are now in a circumstance that maybe you would not have chosen for yourself, and yet here you are. And what you mentioned at the end of your question is telling me that you're already practicing something called radical acceptance, which is this way of thinking, this way of being that is really focused on accepting reality as it is, instead of being mad at it, instead of being very upset that it's not different, because we can spend a lot of time and energy in that place, right? And instead shifting into a mindset of, well, I'm here. And so this is going to be my life for the next, you said your son was 5, at least 13 years, because you're also clear about your value system. It is very important for you to be a good, committed, involved father to your son, which means that you live in Lithuania now. And so what is your new vision for your life? Can you allow yourself to create a new future? Say goodbye to the old one, but what does this make possible for you now? It sounds like you're already identifying ways that you can learn, you can grow, you can build a new vision for your ideal reality 10 years from now. And so your real work is to answer the question, what would be the best possible outcome in this situation? Not despite me being stuck in Lithuania, but actually because of it. Like, what could I do that would be amazing, exciting? How do I build a community? How do I build a career? How do I find love again? How do I grow my family? I mean, since obviously you have values oriented around that. So this is continuing to dig into what is most meaningful and valuable and important for you. And then imagining the invisible staircase and figuring out a way to climb up it. I do hope you get back in touch with me and let me know about a possible interest in that free 2-part training called Love, Happiness, and Success, because through that training, you'll find additional free resources that will help you make that more concrete, make your vision more concrete, and give you some strategies to help make that vision your reality. But I think you're already doing it. That is my sense of you. So, anyway, such wonderful questions. Oh my gosh, this was so much fun to hang out with you today. I love this. This is my favorite thing to do every week. I look forward to Thursdays. I appreciate you participating, for sending your questions in advance. I'll be sharing next week's live stream on the socials very soon. And so you can send your questions in advance through growingself.com/dear-Lisa. And even if you have something going on that's maybe not on topic with that week's questions, if you send them through that form, I collect them and I go back through things that people have submitted previously. So maybe 3 weeks from now, I'll do a live stream on a topic that more closely relates to your question. But I'll also be able to keep in touch with you to let you know what the upcoming topics are so that you're sure to either attend, but I'll also send you a recap too in case you miss it. All right. Thank you so much again for joining me today. This was great, and I will be back in touch with you next week on another live stream. So I'll see you then.